All right, man. We got some things that we need to cover that's going on in Philly right now. First off, we got the Maxx Crosby trade smoke, right? And also, we got the Eagles officially hiring Mike Pellegrino as defensive back coach. And also, we're going to talk about the Emmanuel Acho trying to psychoanalyze Jalen Hurts based on where he was sitting or standing at a Super Bowl party. And to be honest, man, two of these things matter for football, and one of them is just noise. But of course, man, as usual, we got to talk about it. This is what we do, right? So now, here we go. Let's start with the smoke, right? There is a legitimate report circulating that the Eagles are viewed as one of the top contenders if the Raiders seriously explore moving Maxx Crosby. Look, there's nothing finalized, right? There's nothing confirmed just yet. But, credible buzz just doesn't appear out of the thin air, right?
What chances do you think the Eagles are a destination?
Like big time. If this thing opens up, and everybody's a player. I mean, listen, they tried to trade for Micah Parsons in the division, right? Why would they not trade for let me rephrase. Why wouldn't they then be considered a strong contender for a team that would be like, yeah, get him out of the conference,
right?
Get him to another team. And I would certainly put the Eagles top 3, 5, whatever.
Now, here's what matters. Here's what matters the most. Maxx Crosby is not hype, right? He is production. He is pressure. He is a 4-man rush win by himself. And, that's what we need, and that's what matters in playoff football. Elite edge rushers change protection schemes, right? They change slide calls. They change quarterback launch points, right? They change how offenses call third downs. If you add a player like that, you don't just add talent, right? You raise your defensive ceiling. Do you hear me? Now, let's stay disciplined, right? We have to. We got to talk about everything. This would not be a need move. This would be an aggressive move for sure. For sure. There is a difference there, right? A need move patches up a weakness, right? An aggressive move raises championship ceilings. Crosby raises that ceiling, right? But here's the real conversation, right? What does it cost? What would it cost? You're likely talking about some premium draft capital for a player like that. You're likely talking about cap restructuring. You're likely talking about future flexibility. The Eagles historically protect long-term flexibility, right? So if there's even sniffing around, that tells you something. If Howie is sniffing around about this, that's amazing. It tells you they believe the competitive window is still active, right? And, that's the real story. Under Vic Fangio's structure, pressure ideally generates with just 4 guys. 4-man integrity. Coverage shells to back it up, right? An elite edge means you don't have to blitz as much, right? And, when you don't have to blitz as much, you keep bodies in coverage. The Fangio way. That is January football, right? That's how you survive elite quarterbacking. So, yeah. The Crosby smoke, that's fire if the math works, right? So let's go ahead and talk about the Mike Pellegrino. Let's talk about this guy. Now let's talk about something that actually happened. The Eagles officially hired Mike Pellegrino as a defensive back coach. This isn't splash. This is straight up structure, right? And structure wins more games than splash, if you want to be honest, man. Pellegrino, he spent over a decade in New England, which is amazing. He served as, cornerbacks coach. He recently worked with Buffalo and their secondary over there, but while in New England, he coached the following guys: Stephon Gilmore, who we know is really good, J.C. Jackson, another guy, Jonathan Jones, Jason McCourty, Christian Gonzalez, during his early development. That's not random, right? That's technique development. New England's defensive backs were known for the following, man. Press discipline, leverage awareness, route anticipation, situational intelligence. That's coaching detail, man. That's film room culture, if you ask me. But let's go ahead and slow this down real quick. Young defensive backs, man, they don't need height, right? They need correct hand placement. They need hip discipline, eye placement control, spacing awareness. Explosive plays usually come from like bad angles, late recognition, poor leverage. A detail-oriented defensive back coach tightens spaces first. Do you hear me? And when you tighten spaces, you limit the explosives. Limiting explosives wins you those close games. That's the real value here. This hire raises the defensive floor. And raising the floor, it matters just as much as raising the ceiling, if you get what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? That's game right there. That's game right there. Now, let's address the noise, man. Emmanuel Acho said he saw Jalen Hurts sitting alone at a Super Bowl party and implied something about his personality or his social dynamic. Let's just be adults here, right? Leadership is not measured in party proximity, right? Leadership is measured in, preparation, right? Locker room response, on-field command, big moment composure, a.k.a. Jalen Hurts. Hurts has always been reserved, right? He has always been process-driven. He has never been performative. That's not antisocial, man. That's personality, if you ask me. Because there are loud leaders and there are quiet leaders as well. But the fact is, both of these leaders exist in championship locker rooms. If someone wants to, critique mechanics, that's football. If someone wants to, critique decision speed, that's football as well. But, drawing conclusions about leadership based on a party snapshot, let's be real. That's content farming. We evaluate tape, not DJ booth angles. Do you hear me? Like, what are we talking about? It's ridiculous. But let's talk about the bigger picture, man. Crosby is about raising the defensive ceiling. Pellegrino is about tightening defensive discipline, right? The Hurts narrative is just external noise, right? It's nothing. The Eagles' job is simply to improve pressure, right? To keep the coverage tight, to ignore narrative distractions. That's a championship infrastructure, bro, right? So if the Eagles land Crosby, the NFC landscape, it shifts. If Pellegrino develops or continues developing the cornerbacks, that would be amazing. And, if the organization continues to build around Jalen Hurts instead of reacting to the media narratives, then the culture might be able to stay intact. And culture matters more than party optics. All right? We need to address this A.J. Brown trade rumor situation because every offseason it feels like it pops back up, right? So let's slow it down again. Right now, man, there's speculation, right? It's basically league chatter. But, there are some insiders saying the Eagles could entertain calls, right? But there's no confirmed trade. There's no official statement from the team that he's on the block, right? And to be honest, there's no verified report that A.J. Brown requested a trade. So that's the starting point right there. Let's start right there. Now, here's how this works in the NFL, right? Every front office listens. Every front office is going to answer the telephone. That doesn't mean they are shopping a player, right? It doesn't mean that. That basically means they are doing their job. A.J. Brown is under contract, right? That's a fact. A.J. Brown is a top-tier receiver in the National Football League. That's a fact. Trading a player like that is not casual. That's my opinion. But, there are some cap implications. There is some dead money that we got to talk about. There is, roster structure. And unless someone is offering something significant, we're talking like some premium draft capital, you don't just move wide receiver one while he's in his prime. That's reckless in my opinion. And historically, this front office is not reckless. Now, let's talk about why these rumors exist, right? A.J. Brown is emotional. A.J. Brown is competitive. A.J. Brown is expressive. When he's frustrated, you can see it, right? When he wants the ball, you're going to know that. That's not dysfunction. That is competitive fire. You know what I'm saying? And that's where Jason Kelce, his comments come in, right? Jason Kelce said that A.J. Brown's frustration sometimes shows up in his play. That's a fact. That when he gets internally frustrated, it can manifest on the field. We seen that last year. Now, people, they just ran with that. They ran with that narrative. They took it like Jason Kelce was calling him out or questioning his character. But Kelce did what? He went ahead and walked it back. I mean, he had to. I got his jersey on. Jason Kelce is one of my favorite Eagle players ever. He did clarify that, he was not taking the shot at A.J. Brown as a person, right? He wasn't saying he's a bad teammate. That's not what he was saying. He wasn't saying there's some locker room fractures. He didn't say that as well. He was simply acknowledging what everybody else can see, right? If you got eyes, you can see it. When A.J. Brown is frustrated, it's visible, period. And that's honesty. That's not division, bro. That's the difference between visible frustration and organizational dysfunction, right? And those two things keep getting blurred. Now, let's remove the drama talk. Let's talk about some football. On the field, man, A.J. Brown changes coverages. He forces bracket looks. He forces safety help. He opens the field for Devontae Smith, for Dallas Goedert. You just don't replace that easy. You don't do it. You don't just draft a guy and assume the same impact. It don't work like that. So the real question isn't, are the Philadelphia Eagles trading A.J. Brown? The real question is, would this front office ever move him without getting a haul? That is the question. And unless the answer is yes to a massive return, the math ain't mathing. The math says, and it adds up to where you keep the elite talent. Here's my take. Let's talk about the hotter take. This feels like off-season smoke, not structural fire for sure. Could team call? Yeah, absolutely. Will the Eagles listen? Oh, for sure. We're talking about Howie Roseman. Does that mean he's gone? Hell no. Absolutely not. Until there's some real reporting, real negotiations, real confirmation, A.J. Brown is still a Philadelphia Eagle. And we're not panicking over a rumor cycle. We just don't do that. What we do is we watch the tape, right? We watch the cap, right? We watch the leverage. That's it. That's all, right? And that's where I'm going to leave it today, man. I don't want to talk y'all ears off today. As usual, man, go ahead and stay fly, stay real, keep it a stack. And if you made it this far in the video and you felt like this puppy helped you out, please do me a favor. Do the channel a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Do all those things to keep the channel in rotation. But until next time, I'm out.
I don't want to be. I want to spend my life savings on this. I want to abandon all financial responsibility and dump it in here.